Hi folks, another new video, this time to show you my homemade desoldering unit. What I've done, used my original Antex 100 watt soldering iron, which I've had for quite some time, and to this I'm going to fit a desoldering tip and head. Now the head itself consists of, that's a solid piece of brass, as well as this piece. This piece and this piece are all solid. I've drilled a 1/4 inch hole through there at an angle. Then this fitting actually came from a, try and get that into focus, actually came from a lampshade light fitting, believe it or not, which I've soldered into place. They're silver soldered. And then I've made this unit here, which is from a piece of standard brass 1mm wall tube, and then I've fitted the light fitting which mates to this on one side, silver soldered that onto the tube itself, cut away most of the tube itself to prevent heat from travelling up to this end. That's a must. If you leave it solid, the heat will transfer up and eventually get nearly as hot at this end as it does at that end. So this basically screws on to there, the original light fitting. So we'll do that quickly. And that's when that's tightened down, that's airtight because it's like a taper fit at this end. Then I've taken what are sample bottles, specimen sample bottles. You can get these off eBay for about 50p to £1 a piece. And what I've done with that, I've got one here and I've made a hole in that end with a Dremel very carefully, so that can fit into there where there's a seal. You can see the blue seal, which is made from this silicon rubber baking sheet, which is about the only thing which will stand up to the heat of the soldering iron itself, which it does quite well. So that actually sits into there like that. Now before that goes in, I've got this other little unit here which I've just made. I've got a spring that I had out of my bits box, and I've got a 1/4 inch brass K&S brass tube drilled, and it's an interference fit press through that brass washer. Another silicon rubber seal at that end. So you place the spring on, and then in this end I've drilled 2 holes and a clip which holds this piece in place. So we'll put that through quickly. So centralise that, and then what you do, obviously when it's cold, you pull back on there, fit in the glass tube, and then the hole fits into the back just like that. So that's the unit there, ready to fit onto the soldering iron. So we'll fit it onto the soldering iron and then connect it all up, and I'll show you the next stage. So we're back in 2 ticks. So with the unit fitted into the soldering iron where the original iron would have gone, we tighten up the screw underneath, and in this case I'll do it at the side because it's easier. I'll just give it a nip with a pair of pliers because I can't find my screwdriver. So that's that done. Then there's a rubber O-ring around there which retains this nylon tube. Now eventually this tube will soften, but I've got a neoprene rubber silicon tube coming in replacement of this, which will just fit onto the back like that, just for temporary. So that's basically the unit there set up. So what we'll do now is connect the other end of that to this vacuum pump, which I got off eBay for a few pounds, quite cheap, and it has a nice little foot on it. and then I've wired this in series to an old Singer saw machine foot pedal, and put a new wire in it then, shrunk wrap it all for nice and neatness and safety. I took all the contents of this out and just left the beryllium bronze. In fact, I can show you that now quickly. If I remove the retaining screw underneath, find the screwdriver, which is never where you want it when you want it, so I'll use these long nose pliers instead. There we go, found it. Right, so we'll take that off. Take the single screw out, take that out, and then inside there I've removed the resistor which was there and just left the beryllium bronze spring in. So when you press down on the pedal, this contacts with the bottom strip there, like that. So that's all you need to leave in. Then wire this in, solder the ends, and that's the pedal itself. So what I'll do, I'll put everything together, fire up the iron, and do a little demo. Just before I do the demo, I'll show you a couple of iron ends pieces that I've made for it. That one's got a slightly larger hole, and that one there's half the size, and they simply slide into the end there. And to keep them in situ, all you need to do is bend that shaft slightly, bend this ever so slightly, and it will push into place and stay in place like that. It's a big one, and that's a small one. So we'll start off with a small one for the demo in 2 ticks. While we're waiting for the iron to heat up, I've got the foot pedal on the floor there, like I said before, wired in situ. As you press, the little vacuum pump comes into life. We do a quick seal test on this piece of silicon mat, and you'll be able to hear the little compressor change tone. Quite an impressive amount of draw on these little machines, available on eBay, so we should be getting somewhere near now. Let's do a test. Not quite there. What I'm going to do, I've got this old USB hub, which I want to salvage some of these USB sockets from, and I've already taken the power socket off, which is kicking about somewhere, and I'm going to try and keep these LEDs as well, and that little capacitor there as well, and maybe this USB firewire port as well. So I should be getting somewhere near now. Not quite there. It's quite a bit to heat up. It's just started to go there. So it'll take a couple of more minutes, I would think. These little pumps, I think they're about £14 or something like that from eBay, and you must make sure that they're wired up the correct way around. They will run in reverse as well, but you'd have to change the outlet to the inlet. Inside there's just a diaphragm and a double rubber reed valve, so they say wire it up the correct way, but I've tried it both ways, and it sucks just as good both ways. It's not a vane, like an impeller type. It is a piston diaphragm type. So that should be somewhere near now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to resolder the sockets on there, which I've actually already sucked off earlier when I was doing a test. So we'll re-solder those. Still not quite there, actually. There it comes. So I'll let that solder flow down onto there, and then there we get in there now. So you can use the tip as a soldering iron as well, this small one, which is quite handy. And let's clean the rubbish off the front and start again. Put some proper flux into it. It takes longer than you think to warm up actually. Still not quite there. Taking longer than I thought. There we go. So I'll flood those connectors with plenty of solder so you can see. It actually works better when you put some solder on rather than trying to suck what's left out of the hole, because it creates a better seal. So there, that's soldered. So I'll try and hold this nearer the camera and you can see how she works. So we'll reheat that again, put it over the terminal. There we go. Let's let it heat up a while. And as you can see there, it's took all the solder out from around there. Because it's a metal body, they draw some of the heat away. That's what the problem is. So you've got to give it an extra few seconds for this to heat up before the solder will suck from the other side of the board. So I'll let that heat up again. Just give it a couple of seconds, and then pump. Yep, it's not bad. She's properly hot now, so she's working properly. I think you can see that there. Let's try and get into a better position actually. So you can see the solder. They're quite hot on the other side of there. So try and zoom in a little closer and you can see the solder disappear as it's melted there. Impressive little pump. The last one. So as you can see there, it does a really good job. Quite happy with that. All those parts, believe it or not, came out of my bits box. What I call my bitser box. And light shade fittings and a piece of solid brass which you turn down to fit inside. I'll zoom back out again, to fit inside the actual heating element itself, which replaces what would be the original iron. So there it is. This starting to warm up slightly now. It's not bad. It would warm up a lot quicker if there wasn't those extra spaces taken away. And the iron there is actually on flat out, so the type of iron it is, if I unplug it I can show you. This is the one. This is the Antex unit, which comes with its own power supply and adjustable heat temperature. It's got a little pot on it there, and that comes in. One of these new irons comes in at about 100 quid today. I mean, when I bought this one, it was slightly less. So basically, I've got the iron. I've made the desoldering unit myself. So I've literally got it for less than half price of the retail version, which is from Weller or any other make. So that works really well. I'm really happy with it, and that'll save hours and hours of hassle from trying to remove difficult components. Yep, absolutely chuffed with that. And there we go, a homemade desoldering unit. Thank you again for watching. Bye for now.